Hey, what's up, Liron here. Today I'm going to share with you a really neat trick for managing your shapes in watercolor. A lot of people are scared that in watercolor, everything, absolutely everything has to flow together. And if you started to work on an area, you must connect it to everything else. I have this really cool example of ice cubes that will really demonstrate this point of how you have a lot of areas where you can stop. I call these stop lines or stop points. You can call these whatever you want, but I'm going to show you today how these stop points can really assist you in managing your painting. So I'm going to start treating these as shapes. First shape I see is this thing here, this little ice cube, and we'll just get to it and start filling in the area that I'm seeing. Now there are some nuances and small details. I'm going to ignore them all, and I'm going to do one more thing. I will probably make everything a little lighter, so a little more high key. So I'm going to start with that main shape. And pretty much everything here is gonna be black. It's a dark gray. You can treat it as black. It doesn't really matter. It will have the kind of final impression we're after, right? So we're gonna fill this area up. I did do a few marks of areas to skip where it's gonna be some highlights, but what I want you to pay attention to, and I'm gonna share the sketch and the reference photo, of course, in the description box, so you can find these and use them. But what I want you to notice is how I'm using the closure of that shape to basically work in a controlled area where I don't have to worry about anything else. I'm just worried about this shape, right? The shape that I'm working on. I'm going to cut through here with a thin line, and somewhere around here, this shape will end. So that's one, okay? Now, there is a bit of a nuance of edges here, so honestly, I could just absorb this back and then come back with a damp yet clean brush and help this edge move just a bit, just to add a bit of variety to it. You don't have to, and you'll have to repeat this a few times to really get a good soft edge. It may still not be enough what I've done here, but that's fine. So that's one cube. Now let's do another one. We can even work on the background if we choose to, but I think let's stick to the cubes for now. Again, another area where I'm gonna paint what I see and pretty much skip the highlights that I marked here for myself. Everything within the confines of this shape, I can paint over. I'm fine, I'm good. And I don't have to worry about connecting anything to anything else. Now, when we're looking at these ice cubes, it looks easy, right? The problem usually begins when you're dealing with more complex objects. Now, what I want you to be perhaps minded of, what I want you to maybe notice the next time you're painting something you perceive to be complex is usually you can find these stop lines, these stop points, these stop shapes, areas that define a shape very clearly that you can stop in and focus just on a small area. And for some people, it helps to know exactly what they're going to paint. Well, for other people, it's not the deal. The deal is different. You want to kind of experience it on a moment-by-moment basis. Either is fine. It's very personal, but I'm just mentioning it. Some people I know do a very good job when they know exactly the shape that they're going to fill in. And usually when I paint something that's meant to be more towards the hyper-realistic or quite accurate, I also benefit from knowing exactly where my edges are, where my shapes are. But this is a scene that pretty much anyone can go ahead and paint, which is why I wanted to share it with you. I'm going to come back with just clean water and help this move. My brush now is not just damp, it's pretty wet, I would say, just to help this move and blend downwards. Now, even here, I can just pause the shape. I don't have to blend it with the right side, and you'll see in a second. Now, just for fun, let's fill in the background around the ice cubes to give it some more context, to make the highlights or the lights look light. This is going to be quite simple too. I'm just going to paint it from top to bottom, and I'm going to use the cubes as stop lines, right? As we've seen so far. Just going to use these to know where to stop. Now, you'll have to forgive me, my tape isn't really taping for some reason. It's a new, different brand I haven't used before, and I don't know why, it's a little weak. Hopefully it doesn't get pulled off the paper. and it can hold on. If not, if it's gonna leak through it, so be it, that's fine. I don't really care about clean borders. I care more about it not just lifting off the paper and not doing its functionality as intended. So you see here, all the way down to here, and onto this cube down below, that's where this shape is going to stop, right? And then we're going to continue with this side. And because I'm using enough water, I don't even need a strong angle here on my paper. I can just work with a very gentle low angle. I'm going to go ahead and go over this area. I felt like a background was about to appear. So I'm going to go over everything. Sometimes that's necessary, I discovered. Going back over everything with stronger paint, actually. And we're going to connect it down to here. And as we reach close to the bottom of this cube, I'm going to switch over to my small brush and do pretty much the same. I'm going to come back with a wet brush. Okay. There we go. And let the paint move down pretty freely, like this. And we already have this set up here, right? Now I want to show you something fun. So for this cube, we're going to start with the darks, but there's going to be a mid-value layer as well. So I'm going to paint the shape of the darks as we've done so far, as I've done before. And there's going to go around this. I'm going to start picking up the pace a bit just because I can. And I'll show you a really cool trick for painting mid-values, okay? Something you've seen me do before, but I don't know if people have picked up on it. So I'm going to paint the darks, like so, around this, and all the way down to here. And of course, there's a litany of details down here. That's fine. You can abstractize these. There's a bit of things going on here that I don't have to do now, because I just care about the connected wash I'm working on at the moment, but you can. Okay, now I want to show you something fun. This needs to be a mid-value. So all I really need to do is come back with light paint, like this, that I had from a previous video, this piece of paper, and I'm going to connect the areas. The reason I'm doing that is because there is a loose edge between them. So I'm going to move the brush next to the edges, like so, and connect them. What this is going to do is both simultaneously fill this with a mid-value and also create a soft edge. And you can do this here as well. And you can do this wherever you kind of see it happening. I am seeing this vagueness here, so I'm going to just go ahead and do this. Well, this area stays white for now, okay? And then we have some darks in between the cubes. And then we're gonna help these darks move downward by coming back with some water. And the more we add these details and nuances, the more sense this will start to make, okay? It's okay if it still doesn't look like what it's meant to be. I'm gonna use this opportunity to just define everything here. This is what some would call similar to, what's the thing, note hands, I think, that people ask me a lot about, and I've never done a proper like noten exercise. You could maybe call it this. Let me know in the comments if this could be considered noten. I just don't know. And then this goes up above this, like so. Same thing, if you need a mid-value, come back with some damp wash, damp water. I'm going to do the same here, by the way. This is a mid-value, so here we go. And you can merge that with the background if you choose to. And then here, this entire thing is fraught with mid-values. So let's see if I can just kind of paint a vague expression of the way I see these shapes working. Something like that. Now, I like when I have a lot of loose edges and smooth edges, I like to place in the paint and then come back, like I've shown you before, with a damp brush and kind of help the edges move a bit. After I placed in all the shapes is when I'll come back and help some of the edges move, like so. This looks like it could benefit from a bit of a mid-value. like so. Now, if you're starting to see maybe a different area needs a mid value, go ahead and start establishing that. I see some hints of it, right? This isn't necessarily a white highlight. Same here. This is kind of a mid value. Now, within the mid values, you'll also have some darks, and that is fine. You can add these too. I'm going to add this dark in between the cubes. There's a bit of a dark here in between the cubes. There's a bit of a dark on these shapes. So I'm just kind of going to pour it over, trying not to go too dark actually. But just place some of it here and there to indicate that this isn't just a mid value, but what you'll see is slowly but surely an impression is created and it starts to feel like the object you're painting. If you feel like you've gone too light on an area, like this first cube that I placed, feel free to just go over it with another glaze, maybe skip some details you've had earlier just to create an impression of some more nuances to the ice and how it dried. If you feel like you want to break it off a bit, come back with a damp brush and feel free to break that off. The key idea here is this. What we're doing here is we're using our observation skills and maybe some of our wisdom to know which shapes can help us in managing the wash so that we don't struggle with large areas, so that we're able to portray a lot of details in an effective manner and not feel overwhelmed by the sheer amount of shapes we have to paint, right? And by doing that, you're going to make your painting process much more fun, much easier, and you're going to start developing the feeling of glow. Now, the thing that's missing here from the ground to me is that it should all be a little darker. So I'm going to do a glaze. It's a high-risk glaze, and that's fine. The only thing I'll leave white is that reflection from this ice cube, something like this. And if I need to strengthen the tops, I'm just going to come back with a bit of stronger paint here. Bit of a high risk move, but it's going to work, I think, to establish really the ground, so to speak. You can even tilt this to help this move, but I think this is, whoops, I think this is pretty much the gist of it. Maybe there's a bit of a mid value here that I can kind of go over, maybe erase that transition a bit. But overall, that would be how you use shapes to your advantage to paint things more easily, to nail the shapes down more easily, and so you don't have to struggle with a bunch of large washes that honestly I would have a hard time handling. It doesn't even have to do necessarily with experience. You could be quite experienced and find yourself, and just adding a few touches, you can be quite experienced and still find yourself really struggling with painting a lot of the shapes you're seeing, and that is fine, you know? So in some ways, making art that's holistic and in a fun way and in a very satisfying manner is learning how to make it work for you as well. I hope that was helpful. If you want to learn how to paint loosely, let go, enjoy the painting process, check out the frustration-free watercolor course. It's going to show you exactly that. Now, if you want to learn more of this black and white, but more towards the realistic impression, you want to check out the Watercolor Realism course. I will put a link to that as well, in the description box below. And I want to thank everyone who supports me over on Patreon. If you want to receive credits at the end of the videos and you want to be a part of what I'm doing and know you're supporting me that way, feel free to check it out. There are a few exclusive processes and exclusive posts. I hope to see you there. And we'll talk to you again real soon. Take care.